Hey, it's Lyla of the Mini Witch. Do you ever find yourself stuck between the panic of, oh my god, I need to get this done, and the hope of actually wanting to look good? Me too. Well, fear not, because today I have some unreal speed painting hacks that will help you strike the perfect balance of speed and quality. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to pay our respects for this magnificent paint job. It is a bittersweet reunion for me because this is the second time I am recording this video, and therefore I need to completely repaint this model. And this badass orc with a back brace for this weekend's D&D session deserves an awesome paint job. So say farewell to our dear orc friend and let me know in the comments what is the most painful thing you've had to do to a miniature. Alright, step 1 is choosing a color scheme. Choosing a color scheme first assures that we won't waste time choosing colors later. I recommend a quick Google search of inspirational word, color scheme, and I'm sure you'll find something great. Next is choosing our base color for our zenithal. This base color is crucial because it sets the tone for the entire model, acting as a unifying shadow color. Therefore, it needs to work with every color that I've chosen to work with. For this orc, I'm going with a classic green skin tone and an earthy color palette. So I'll start by basing him in a deep yet vibrant green. You don't want it to be too dark, as any speed paints we lay on top will automatically darken down those shadows anyway. Next, we'll spray white directly from above, making sure the white doesn't wrap around the model too much. We want to keep our highlights focused on the top half of our model to create a strong spotlight effect. This is one of the ways we will cheat people into thinking we worked a lot harder than we actually did. See how the lower half is really dark? This will allow us to just skip over it, or at least do very little work. Our eyes are automatically drawn to the brightest part of the model, so we will use that to our advantage and spend the majority of our time on the top half of the model. Our next speed painting trick will be using speed paints or contrast paints. Now, obviously, this is not a hack in itself, but it's what we're going to do in our next steps that is really going to make the difference. Now I'm mixing a 1:1 ratio of Gillick Dew and Desolate Brown speed paint with a drop of Golden High Flow Medium. I like to thin down my speed paints with a thinner medium just in case the color is too intense. I can always add more layers if I need to. Then I'm applying my color to the orc scheme using a large brush with a wide belly. Using a brush with a large belly is crucial because it holds more paint, allowing for smooth and even coverage across the surface. This ensures we get a nice, consistent base coat. Once your brush runs out of paint and it becomes difficult to apply to the model, reload and start again. Then, brown to the fur and boots. For a more earthy metal look, I'm mixing silver and bronze to create a dull iron color. This mix gives a natural worn effect that's perfect for our orc. I'll be using this on the pauldron, belt buckle, axe, and back brace to tie everything together for a rugged yet cohesive feel. Next up is the cloth. I'm going with Poppy Red from Army Painter Speed Paint, as it's a very deep berry color that will complement the earthy greens of the skin beautifully, adding a subtle pop of color without overpowering the natural tones. Today, I'm super excited to be painting this orc with a back brace, thanks to our sponsor, the Limitless Legends miniature campaign. Limitless Legends focuses on D&D heroes with disability to offer more diverse and inclusive characters that are often overlooked in mainstream gaming. With the additions of stretch goals, the campaign offers 26 models, both with male and female depictions. Each character has their own character sheet that details their unique abilities and backstory, and each model is available as pre-supported, ready-for-print STL files and as physical miniatures. I love this orc with the seeing eye owlbear, and this fighter with a prosthetic leg is definitely getting used in my campaign. This campaign is quickly coming to a close, so if you liked any of the miniatures you've seen here today, be sure to check the link in my description box. Thanks so much, Limitless Legends. Your miniatures are truly awesome. Let's get back to painting. Okay, here's where the magic happens. I'm creating a glaze using a 3:1 ratio of my green speed paint with a very light but vibrant green. This glaze will reduce the opacity of our paint, making it blend more seamlessly with the base layer. And for reference, here's the speed paint mixture compared to the opaque glaze mixture. I'll apply this to the upper center of each muscle, pulling the brush towards the highest point to create natural highlights. Then I'll apply a second layer of that same mixture right on top of our previous layer, but smaller. Again, this is going to help create a smooth gradation. As we continue, I'll gradually add more opaque paint, one brushful at a time. This method allows us to slowly increase the opacity and brightness of the highlights, focusing on key areas like the chest, shoulders, and face. Each subsequent layer being smaller, but in the center of our previous layers. Remember, since we're aiming for speed, it doesn't have to be perfect, just effective. And you definitely don't have to take as much time as I am. 1 or 2 layers would probably be fine, but this is a Lyla video, so I want this model to be as good as I can make it. One of the most famous examples of a historical prosthetic limb are the iron hands of the German mercenary knight Gotz von Berlichingen, who lost his hand due to cannon fire around the year 1500 at the age of 23. However, he kept fighting as a mercenary until he retired at the age of 64. What a badass. Next, we're going to edge highlight the fur using a brown opaque paint. This technique adds dimension quickly to areas we don't want to spend too much time on. I'm loading the brush about halfway with unthinned paint and using the side of my brush, brushing up and down the fur texture gently. By focusing on the edges, we can create a nice contrast that brings out the texture without a lot of effort. For smaller, even spaces that have less dimension, like belt bandoliers and bag straps, I like to paint them brown and then go over them with a wash. I have found that contrast paint just doesn't add the pop I'm looking for. Here, I'm painting these in a lighter brown than I might normally, and then going over them with a black wash. This contrast between the light opaque paint and the dark wash will help create that contrast that I'm looking for. Then I'll take Agrax Earthshade and wash it over the metallic areas to distress the metal further. Now let's move on to another glaze. I'm mixing a 1:3 ratio poppy red speed paint to create a smooth, easy to work with glaze. This consistency makes the speed paint more forgiving, allowing me to even out any areas where the paint might collect unevenly, especially on large open surfaces. I'll keep adding opaque brushfuls of paint until I achieve the dark red I'm aiming for. To add more dimension, I'm highlighting the high points of my metallic mixture with silver. This step is optional, but I love the extra detail that it brings out. It's perfect for those of us perfectionists at heart. Details are crucial. We don't want to spend too much time on them, but we want to do enough to add definition to the model. The more details you add, the more time it will look like you have spent on your model. So to save time, we need to pick details that will make the biggest difference. And of course, for me, the details are my favorite part. I'm adding edge highlights to the belts and bandoliers to help make them pop. Once again, using a rather light color to help everything stand out. Then I'm using the same red from the fabric, heavily diluted with golden thinner medium for the lips and mouth. The tusks are getting an off-white color to help them stand out, as well as the teeth on the necklace. Then it's the eyebrows and a quick Agrax Earthshade wash to add dimension to the necklace. His eyes are deep enough in shadow that I'm not going to bother painting them in. I think from a distance they won't be missed. The last step is applying a matte varnish to everything but the metallic areas. This will help unify all the elements and give the model a more cohesive finished look, while allowing the metallic paint to really shine. And then I thought I was done, but I wasn't quite right. I decided that there needed to be more red on the front of the model. So I'm adding blood splatter by dripping a toothbrush into blood for the blood god from Citadel, and then spraying it onto the model with my airbrush. Using the airbrush gives me a finer mist, which looks better at such a small scale. This is another trick to make it look like we spent more time than we actually did. Alright, that's it from me. If you like what I do, you know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, go join me on Patreon. Thanks so much, I'll see you next time.